Hello, I'm Jeff, and welcome to Snap Talk, where we talk about things that either may not make the podcast or we run out of time and can't quite get all our thoughts in on it. Or the third option, where it was something that was on a podcast recording, but we couldn't get it uploaded because the audio was busted. So we're doing this here now. Ladies and gentlemen, it's safe to say that Nintendo both has and will have plenty of games on the Switch. Now, that might not be the biggest stretch out there for this console so early in here, but there was concern going in that Nintendo was not going to have a lot of games on the console. Part of it stems from when the Wii U launched. Day one, there were somewhere around 30 some games, but then after that, it seemed like it was a trickle. A couple releases in this month, a couple releases in that month. You look at the Switch's calendar so far, and there has been no trickle of games. It's pretty much been packed from day one. So far, the Switch has launched pretty strong, probably one of the strongest within the past 12 years, since the start of the 7th console generation with PS3, Wii, and Xbox 360. Because frankly, when I look at the Switch's lineup, and I take out all the Neo Geo ports, I see roughly 24 games that I could see myself buying and playing and enjoying. And it really starts at the beginning on day one, when there were about 5 of the 9 that launched that day that were really exceptional. You start out with Fast RMX, new racing game from Shinnen Games, I Am Setsuna, the excellent RPG from Square Enix, Zelda Breath of the Wild, duh, Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, duh, and Snipper Clips, a fun multiplayer game where you sort of cut paper to complete various puzzles. And then from there, literally the next week, you had Blaster Master Zero, which was an excellent addition to the Blaster Master series. And then from there, Boaz, the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth, plus Lego City Undercover, Graceful Explosion Machine, Jackbox Party Pack 3, Mr. Shifty, which, depending on your opinion, you could either give or take or leave. Wonder Boy, The Dragon's Trap, Puyo Puyo Tetris, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Tumble Seed, Minecraft, Disgaea 5 Complete, Ultra Street Fighter 2, which again, if you're probably someone who would take or leave that one, but again, it's Street Fighter 2. It's more Street Fighter 2. Then Shantae, Half Genie Hero, Mighty Gunvolt, ARMS, Cave Story Plus, and Goner. That's 24 games within the first 4 months of the Switch's lifespan that I'd say are definitely worth playing, not including any of the Neo Geo ports. And that's a pretty good sized lineup right there. I mean, you look at from the past couple generations, there's only 2 systems I'd say would come close. And first, I would say, is the Wii U, which meets it in sheer volume simply on day one, and the PS3, which I think, not PS3, PS4, which I say probably meets it based on percentage from day one. Because, I mean, the Wii U, it came out with about 33, 34, 35 games on day one. 11 of them, I'd say, you could go back and say, yeah, this was good. I want to play more of this. Meanwhile, on the PS4, there was about 9 out of, I think there was 21 games that came out on day one for PS4. But then after that, we're going to go with the 4-month span from when it launched to, well, I'd say it launched about mid-November in 2013. So let's go to March 2014 with our PlayStation 4 example, which you could also find 24 games similar to the Nintendo Switch. So there really isn't much of an argument for those who want to say that the Switch isn't going to have any games. Now, there is some context to look at between the two. You look at the PS4 lineup, and there are a lot more AAA games that came out during the launch. And part of that is because the AAA games tend to launch in the last quarter of the year. So at launch, it had things like Assassin's Creed 4, Injustice Gods Among Us, Killzone Shadowfall, Need for Speed Rivals, and then later on it had a upgraded version of Tomb Raider, and then it had Infamous Second Son, it had Awesome Knots Assemble. Actually, I don't think that counts as AAA, but... And yeah, if you're someone out there who enjoys those games, it also had Call of Duty and Battlefield, but those games that year weren't really that good. Battlefield 4 was kind of buggy. Call of Duty Ghost series isn't really looked back on fondly by the Call of Duty fans, or specifically the fans that liked single-player stories within Call of Duty. And if you look at the Switch, it doesn't really have a lot of the big-name titles. I mean, it has Zelda, but other than that, we're still waiting on Skyrim. We're still waiting on Payday 2. But we do have some big games there. We do have the Jackbox Party Pack. We have Disgaea 5. We have Splatoon 2. We have a new IP in ARMS. We haven't gotten to Splatoon 2 yet, but that is coming soon. But really, that says more about when the Switch released rather than what's actually going to come to the system. I mean, it's going to have FIFA eventually. It's going to have NBA 2K eventually. Of course, Skyrim, Payday, they come later. And then it's going to have things from Ubisoft. Again, the Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. It's going to have Starlink later on. You're going to have your bigger Nintendo titles like Super Mario Odyssey. You're going to have Xenoblade 2 on there. But you're also going to have a lot of excellent games that are going to be on there. There's the 24 that I mentioned earlier. And then there's like 40 games that are already known that are coming between now and possibly the end of the year, and even more that are going to come later, just simply because we know people are going to be working on this. So what exactly does this all mean? This all means that when the casuals come around to buying the system later this year, probably during the holiday, which hopefully Nintendo has plenty of systems for, that there's going to be plenty of games to play by the time they get their hands on it, they get it updated and all that. And that's not even including things like a possible virtual console release, or again, the aforementioned Neo Geo ports, which are perfectly fine. You could add them to the list. I just didn't want to, just to talk about games that are more within this century. Now, of course, not all of these games that have been released in the 4 months are new. I mean, you have some that are obviously ports. Mario Kart 8 is a port. Lego City Undercover is a port. I Am Setsuna, that's a port. Shovel Knight, that's a port. But you look at it, 11 of the games that I listed earlier, those are all new. 2 of them are Wii U ports, so they're essentially new if you decided to skip the Wii U and go straight to the Switch. 1 is a completed version with all of its DLC. 1 is a new version of an older game. 1 is brand new to consoles, and 1 had its initial release within the past 6 months, so I'd probably consider it still new. That's about 2/3 of the 24 games I'd list on there. Which, if we go back to the PlayStation list I had on there, you have Injustice, Gods Among Us, that was a port of the game. Flower was a port of an earlier game. Trine 2, it was the Enchanted edition of it, so that's a port. Trine, that was an upgraded port of it. Escape Plan was a Vita port. Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, that's obviously a port. Again, you can take whatever you want out of this. But I'd say the argument that Nintendo doesn't have the games for the system is pretty much dead in the water at this point. So if you're one of those that still hears it from people, just relax and enjoy what Nintendo is offering you. And if you're one of those that just wants to argue, your time is better spent just playing the games. Let's all just not sweat this too much. And that is it for this episode of Snap Talk. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, subscribe, and share with others. If you have a different opinion on what was stated, feel free to comment down below and we can talk about it. If you have an idea for another Snap Talk, leave a suggestion below. And if I feel like I can get enough material out of it, I may talk about it in a future episode. Featured game today is pretty obvious. It's the Bethesda opus, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Obviously not a game that really needs the attention, but it's one that with significance to me around this time of year. About 6 years ago, almost to the day, my cousin Matt passed away after having a massive heart attack. He was a gamer who was absolutely looking forward to playing Skyrim. Unfortunately, he never got the chance to play it, but I know he played a lot of Oblivion, so when I finally got a PC that was powerful enough to play those games, I decided to check out the series. And I've enjoyed what I've played so far, so I think he would have liked it. Also, I should say that the last time we talked, it was after E3 2011, and we were discussing Nintendo's then upcoming Wii U. I was trying to make an argument for how I thought it was going to be a difference maker, and he was kind of shooting it down, saying he didn't like the motion controls or didn't like the force controls of it. And yeah, so this Snap Talk is kind of doubly personal in a way. Anyways, I'm Jeff from Some Nerdy Arguments, and I'll talk to you soon. Happy 4th of July to our American viewers, and happy belated Canada Day to those in Canada.